Le programme suivant sera en anglais.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما سدد لساني نوير جناني صفي أماني وزد برائي. Viewers from around the world, welcome again to Echo from TOUBA, happening right here on S.Fallou TV in Dakar by the Veden. Every other week at 3 o'clock, of course, we're going to have another rerun on Sunday nights. Today we so happy, but first before we start, long life to our Khalif Sheikh Muntaha. May Allah help him with all the tasks he have right now, especially the university he's building right now. May Allah help him finish it, inshallah, and all the other projects he's doing right now. We so happy, glad to have our Sheikh today, S.Lamine MBACKE, a sequel. He was here a while ago, I mean over a year ago. We talked about Islamic finance. Today we're going to dig deeper in that subject, meaning a theory he himself created called Muridonomics. And especially he did a wonderful speech at the UN, at the United Nations. That was on the Bambus Day on 2017. But before we start the show, let's watch the clip first of he delivered over at the United Nations, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala al-hadi al-amin. Sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin al-makin. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi dhawi ridwan wa tamkin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum. I will start first to extend my thanks to Serigne Mamor MBACKE, who gave me this huge opportunity of presenting a subject as important as Murid economics and Islamic finance. And I followed my predecessors to thank him for the huge amount of work he's doing for Islam and for Murid community in the world. I also extend my thanks to all the diplomats present here, friends and family, and all the disciples and all the friends attending. So today we have a short time, and I'm going to try to speak very quickly about a very interesting subject in the world. But in this subject matter, we'll try to connect Islamic finance and the Murid economics or Murid work ethics, which I call here Muridonomics. So we'll talk briefly about Muridonomics. You can go to the next slide to see the outline. First, what is Muridonomics and how Muridonomics fits in the ideal Islamic society of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, and what is the difference between Islamic economics and conventional economics. We'll talk quickly about the philosophical background of the economic Islamic system and its ethical foundations, and we will show that Murid economics is Islamic economics in practice. And finally, we will try to show the way forward about the huge potential in the Murid community.
Thank you. Welcome again to Echo from TOUBA, Muridonomics, Islamic finance. First, we present who S.Lamine is Lamine, Lamine MBACKE, Chief Executive Officer and founder of the African Institute of Islamic Finance. He's much more than an entrepreneur, but also a specialist in international finance in general and Islamic in particular. The man has managed to be an authority in this innovative field of Islamic finance, in which he has become one, if not the greatest specialist in Senegal right now, Africa, and internationally. After a master in mathematics, in finance, and an MBA in the U.S., S.Lamine had a successful career in international finance in the U.S. and Africa, and left Citigroup. He worked for Citigroup later to found an African Institute of Islamic Finance. Today, the AIIF is a fertile ground for the emergence of talent able to position himself as the leader in Islamic finance in the sub-region and in an institution of reference, essential in the establishment of a strong industry of the Islamic finance in Africa. Invited throughout the world in the highest international sphere of finance, Harvard University, Riyadh Summit, Geneva, St. Muridonomics believes immensely in the emergence of Africa and work on ambitious projects for the development of this country, the Islamic Ummah, and the Murid community founded by his grandfather, Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, whose philosophy was based mainly on high standard and of work ethics and unbridled search for knowledge and affirmation for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, we just saw the video, the clip though you did in the UN, and also your portrait. Is this inspired from Sheikh Ahmad Bamba?
السلام عليكم
ورحمة الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على الهادي الأمين سيدنا مولانا محمد المكين وعلى آله وصحبه ذوي الرضوان والتمكين. Thanks, Fallou, for having me again.
You're welcome all the time.
Definitely, it's inspired by Sheikh Ahmad Bamba.
MashaAllah.
You know, as you know, Sheikh Ahmad Bamba is a mujaddid.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a duty for every murid to participate, to do his work on the large field of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba of reviving the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is Islam.
MashaAllah. Absolutely. I mean, we've seen the clip right now from the UN. You gave a speech on Muridonomics. Can you tell us what is the theory of Muridonomics?
Okay, I called it Muridonomics because this is basically the Murid work ethics.
Okay.
And the bottom line is the Murid's economic success has been a lot of subject for scholars in studies, in writing, in teaching, in university thesis since the beginning of the century. So there's a lot of foreigners who wrote a lot about Sheikh Ahmad Bamba. I can cite the English Oxford guy, Donald O'Cruz O'Brien, Jean Copin, who wrote Les Mahaboud al-Rashid, Kuti. I mean, a lot of people wrote about the Murid. Yeah, Fernand Dumont, but most of them wrote about the success of the Murids. And lately, there's a lot of Abdoulaye Wade wrote about La Doctrine Économique du Mouridisme, and also Cheikh Anta Babou, and a lot of people. So this has been highlighted through the century, and up to now, the success of Murids in the community is very highlighted. So Muridonomics is the economic doctrine of Murids, the work ethics of Murid, why Murids are more successful in business than other communities, and what is the foundation, where does it come from? And in that I try to highlight how the Sheikh, as he did you know, for everything else in Islam, how he applied the view of Islam into economics, and he applied it so successfully. So that's why I call it Murid economics.
Right.
So Muridonomics.
That will go inside the term khidma, or is it totally different terms?
And inside khidma is inside that. Actually, you know, we'll see it later on. The Sheikh uses khidma, uses kasb al-halal, uses amal. And everything is included into Muridonomics.
So can you define the foundations though of Muridonomics? On what pillars he stays on?
Okay, very good question. Actually, you know, the starting point is the Sheikh's mission, the Sheikh's way is to revive Islam, to use Islam, to practice Islam with his followers as it was practiced by the Prophet and the Sahabas. But Islam has two things. The ibadat is the vertical relation between you and God, and the muamalat, the horizontal relation between you and the creatures, and political, economic, and everything. So the Sheikh was so great that he applied everything in Islam as it should be. And as an example, if we take the field of economics, he applied Islamic economics. Now Islamic finance is very popular right now. We're talking about Islamic economics, but if you go back to define what is the success of why Maurice are so successful in Islam, because I think the Sheikh understands Islam more than anybody else, and he educated his people to practice economic the way it should be.
To be entrepreneurial.
So I would say that maybe the two foundations of Islamic economics are the Tawhidic approach. Tawhidic approach means the basis of Islam is the oneness of God, and what we need to understand from that is, if you believe in one God, Allah, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, the Shahada, it should show in everything you do. So when you go for business, when you travel, when you do commerce, you should feel the presence of God in everything you do. And that's the first teaching the Sheikh did unto his disciples. And that's why a lot of scholars in Europe and abroad have discovered the sanctifying virtue of work in the field of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba. And the second one is what they call the vicegerency or the khilafah. You know, Allah says in the Quran that He sent human beings to be Khalifatullah fil ard. The Khalifa. And then, so they have a mission. Man has a mission to develop the world. So in the view of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, which is a view on Islam, there is no difference between a worldly action and an afterlife action. In every worldly action you have to do, you have to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala behind. That's why even the Murids, even when they go sell something, they say, Mangi sako adiya. Even when they eat, it's a
Murid culture.
This is a Murid culture. So that's the foundations. Now there's other pillars as like, you know, the fraternity. I mean, you know, the fact that the goods in the world are owned by God, the fact that all human beings are created equal. So there's a lot of foundations following that, but we will see that into practice.
Absolutely. But we should come. I want to just emphasize on practice how Muridonomics, the economy, was practiced during the Sheikh time, because we know it was people work in the peanuts field. We had the mosque to build in the mosque of Jurbel. Practically, how Muridonomics worked during the Sheikh era.
It worked wonderfully, and you know, in all the writings of the sheikhs, he specifies ilm and amal. So he teaches you theoretically how you should practice Islam. You should understand Islam and how you should practice it. And if you go to the field of economy, you know, during the sheikh's times, I just give 2 examples or 3 examples. I think Muridonomics Ibrahim was the first for maybe the #1 agriculture, #1 farmer in the country, as Sheikh Salih was at his time.
And I heard even the quantity of what he produced is still unmatched today. Until today. How much until today?
Until today. I mean, he was practicing agriculture in an area of 40 kilometers, 400 square kilometers. And if you say Mafshehanta, he was probably the most prosperous businessman, because he was doing commerce and everything. If you do Sheikh Ibrahim in the Khidma, so I think in his time around, he taught Islam and he practiced it through his disciples, people who were educated, and they were the #1 in the economy. Now the difference is the dimension of a successful Mam Sheikh Anta or Sheikh Ibrahim or Mam Sheikh Ibrahim or Mam Sheikh Ibrahim is the destination of that success, not just for making profit, but to devote it to social missions, to Allah, and you know.
Right. MashaAllah. And a lot of us, it's been a subject, like you said, of many works by scholars. But this practice of murder, is it profiting right now our community first, before we go to Africa and in general? Is it, the community is taking advantage of this theory?
Okay, so you know, I talked historically. We just talked historically about how Sheikh Ahmad Bamba practiced economy, how his disciples, you know, highlighted their success in economy. If you go further to history, we will also see that at some point in time. The best farmers were Murids in the country. And then after, with the people going from the villages to the cities, the urbanization, we find that the Murids were very successful in commerce, in small commerce. Then they're moving to the industries. Now they're like industry captains and leaders. And then now it's like on a money transfer, you know, on crowdfunding, on you know, social services, internet, and everything. So I think through the past you could see that. Now this is a good question. I think in history, Muri's dynamism in economy helped them have a good position in the country, but helped the country also to be economically strong. I think this is still the case right now. But I think where we should emphasize, where your question is interesting, is it organized to benefit the community, to benefit the country, to benefit the Ummah, to benefit Senegal and Africa? I think we have did a lot of things, but there's a long way to go. I mean, I think there's a lot of work.
It's obvious that the sustainability we're having in terms of food sufficiency, the Murids really played a big role in it. But is it also profiting Africa? Is it African countries inspired from this example of Muridonomics?
I think there's a lot of scholars who wrote about that. I name Edem Kojo, who stated in one of his books that if Senegal used Murid ethics, Murid word ethics, and I mean use it to its best, it could be a driver for not only for Senegal but for Africa. Because you know the problem of Africa is you know, like we're talking about right now, Africa is growing. You know, the fastest growing countries in the world are African countries. And when you talk about the infrastructure gap, Africa's population is growing. And you know, just take the example of India or China. They were like starving countries. Their population grew, and now they're one of the most recent history, most developed country. You take the case of Ethiopia in Africa, which
one of the leaders now.
Well, one of the leaders. So I think that's the case of Senegal. But the problem experts have on that is the growth going to benefit Africans, or is it going to benefit Europeans? And I think if you go to the Murid mentality, where there's a high level of solidarity, there's a drive for entrepreneurship, but also there's a drive for the economy to stay inside. I think it's necessary right now, it's a necessary philosophy for Africans to take advantage of the growth and be one of the emerging countries.
The leaders. Beautiful. We're glad to have our Sheikh today, Sayyid S.Lamine MBACKE of Islamic finance, coming to highlight this topic that is really right now important and helping not only Senegal but the world. Muridonomics theory he taught in teaching right now in school. But is it the community having leverage of their capacity in order to really shed light on this? Is it in the community you're seeing people like yourself coming out with ideas, coming out with books, coming out with the knowledge to really push that idea up front in order for the community to benefit from it? Is it happening in the community?
I don't think, you know, if you from an outside perspective, a lot of people are thinking that Murids are successful, but if you're inside perspective, I don't think we are doing what we're supposed to do. I think we are far away of using the potential of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba's teachings. And actually, about Muridonomics, I'm working with a former finance professor in an American university to publish it, publish the theory. But in practice, I think the potential Murid have, I used maybe 10%. I think the 9% is left. I just give you an example. I mean, the capacity of the Murids to realize a project. You go to history, starting from Sheikh Mustafa, when you're building the rails, if you compare it with the population of TOUBA and the number of Murids and what they achieved. If you go right now with Sheikh Muntakha's university, but I think there's a lot of work to be done into the organization, because the bottom line is the Sheikh said when he was accused of jihad, Ujahid bil ulum bi tuqa, so he's using knowledge, science, to do his jihad.
Absolutely.
And I think every khidmah we need to do for him should go through that. But I think we're lagging behind into organizing ourselves to take advantage of that.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to ask, even because right now the community is building, for instance, is a mosque. It's not even it's not ready yet. There's a mosque of Dakar. There's the university, and a lot of the construction being done in the order of our Khalif. Is it the system itself need to be refined? The crowdfunding system, people coming with their money. Is it something need to be, because there's a lot of money that's being gathered. There's 37 billion for the university, over close to 30 billion for the mosque of Dakar. That's a lot of money. Is it things need to be refined in our system? Oh, are we scared of innovation?
Definitely. I think it needs to be refined. And you know, when the abiyat of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, when he said he asked for zuriyatan tujadidu nahnu nabilu tajtahidu, he said tujadidu and tajtahidu. Tujadidu means it has to be revived, exactly, as a bottom line, but it has to be refined with the modern world. And I think that's where we have a problem. And what's sad about that is we have the knowledge. We have a lot of young people who studied in Malaysia, who studied in all over the world, who studied in TOUBA, and we have the latest technologies. If you take the example of crowdfunding, that's exactly what Murids are doing right now for the university. Crowdfunding is we have if you take the best practices, we can have the best model put in place. But if you put that in place, I think our advantage from the other communities is a will. The Murids are willing, if you call in the Sheikh's name, they're willing to do some things. But on the expertise side, I don't think we're using it the best way. And I give you an example. And this is very Islamic, and this comes in line with Khidmah of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba. If you take, let's say, a mosque, you build a mosque for like 10 billion. There's something called waqf. Waqf is and a lot of experts say waqf is the origin of foundations like Bill Gates foundations. You build a waqf. Waqf can be something like you go to Marché Ocas and you say, I want to renew it, I want to make it modern. You build a big shopping mall with AC in it. We have the big companies, we have the banks, we have and everything and working perfectly. And you employ maybe 200, 300 people working there in TOUBA. Let's say you use that for, let's say you need a 5 billion CFA investment to do that. You do that and your investment is going to bring you, I don't know, 1 billion CFA a year. A waqf is you do that investment and you decide that the benefit of that investment is it will go, for example, for the building of the mosques. And you do it one time and you're fine. So you invest 5 billion, which can bring you 20 billion every 10 years. And that's one investment.
You use the extra for something. That's smart.
So those are kind of things very Islamic, very in line with Sheikh Ahmad Bamba's teaching, and that we're not using. So I don't think we're using expertise the way it should.
But do you see yourself being useful, being used in TOUBA, in the center of TOUBA, in schools there, in order to teach you the knowledge you have in terms of economy? Is that happening?
It's not happening the way it should. I think, I'm invited like here and there, and I think we're lucky to have the chance of having a Khalif who's very into that, who's very into knowledge. But I think we need to make things happen. I think we need to create the environment for knowledgeable people in any field they come from to make benefit their knowledge into TOUBA. And as an example, I'm one of the founders of Rawd Riyahin in 2000 or 1990 or 2000, I remember. And we were like less than 10 people. Rawd Riyahin is doing wonderful work about Helm. But I don't think it's sufficient. When we started it, the bottom line was to create a platform where S.Fallou has an expertise in used clothes or whatever, and you want to benefit the community for that. He has a team where he can do his work, and then there's a committee on top that could, treat that and make it practicable for the Khalifs. And let's say I give you an example. When the Khalif was talked with the government, and the government said, I want, to satisfy, to redo the water systems in TOUBA or the school systems in TOUBA. I don't think it's a duty as government to come and propose us a system. When they say they want to do that, I think at the Khalif we have a paper that should be ready and say this is what we want and help us do that.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that's happening. Rhoda Hind's mission was that in the beginning. So I think we need to create.
There's a lot of work to do on that.
Yes.
So we need much more organization. Thank you again for watching Echo from TOUBA, our sheikh and friend that has knowledge on economy, on in the financial system, visiting us today. A sequel, he was here a while ago. Today we're talking about Muridonomics, Murid and economy, something our sheikh, great sheikh Ahmadu Bamba really thought. It is part of course of the khidmah Sheikh Al-Khadim himself wrote about. And also all this video will be uploaded inshallah on YouTube and on my page Echo from TOUBA. Please like that page. It's gonna help, you know, a little bit sponsor it and then make it know a window of opportunity to share knowledge, to share all the events coming out from our city of TOUBA, wherever you are, mashallah, in the world. Sheikh, right now, is it though, because you here in Senegal, for instance, Senegal emerging, is throughout Africa, like you said, Ethiopia and many other countries, is it something they can learn from Muridonomics, or is it a message Muridonomics will help? For instance, Senegal emerging, what Senegal can learn from us?
Okay, I think what we can learn is actually the starting point is the behavior of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba.
Right.
Khadim Rasul. I think when in his context, Sheikh Ahmad Bamba was here and there was a colonialist and they killed the traditional leaders, they killed all the sheikhs and everything. So everybody failed in front of the colonialist. He succeeded by saying, I fight them, but I fight them bil-ulum bil-duqa.
Absolutely.
And this is a success. And right now the Murids are going abroad to convince other civilizations that we have something good. And this is the best way of converting somebody into Islam. I remember one time, I think it was in the 90s, I was with Serigne Sambay in New York, in the UN, the Bamba Day, and he was saying that when he was applying for his visa, somebody was telling him that, you know, your conference is initiated by taxi drivers and street sellers. But that's the beauty of it, which means the scholars didn't bring the Sheikh's vision in America or in Europe. It's people, street sellers who are not the scholars, that people saw their behavior and they liked them, and then they tried to be like them. And later on the scholars came in. So I think this is exactly in the economic side, that's the way it's going to happen. I think, you know, why there's a lot of scholarly work about the Murid success in Islam. I think the Murid way is a way where, with the growth in Africa, it can show that Africans can grow by themselves, can build by themselves. You know, I'll give you an example. Railways or universities or infrastructure projects, which traditionally is borne by the state. But why Murids are willing to build infrastructure, to finance the infrastructure? Because there's a philosophy of economic independence, the self-sufficiency. And we come back to what President Kennedy said, think of what you can do for your country and not what you can do
for your country, but that's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, something like that. Right.
And then I think that's a position of the Murids. I mean, they're educated to see that,
but sure,
they have to have a, value added in the development of the country, and I think this is a strong message for Senegal and for Africa.
But if you subjugate it to a country like France, we're still not 100% independent. The money, we have the CFA here, and they still have strong, infiltration, if not, possession of many of African economy. Is it going to be possible to theorize Muridonomics, to have Muridonomics totally independent from the influence of the French, for instance, to see how much influence they have in this country?
I think that's why we have to push on Muridonomics, because this has proven to gain the economic independence from the former colonialists, because it's very obvious what happened with the colonialists is after when they were running the country, they were running it with our values and everything, because they were taking advantage of it. But when separated with this country, they always try to use our country to take everything away. But if you see the behavior of Murids in economy, they took a lot of the commerce from the foreigners, from the white people, even now from the industry. So that behavior in itself is a fight against that, and it's a fight in which nobody can do anything. So I think the government and the authorities should put more stress on that. You know, I take an example, what they call informal sector. Informal sector in Senegal. Informal sector is maybe, I don't know, in some industries 70% or 80%
of the economy.
Of the economy.
Absolutely.
I think we should go and help with the informal sector to be formalized, and this will help us own our economy and control our economy.
To have a stronger position. But what's stopping? Because the community is built on love. طوبى لعبد مريد صادق لهم بخدمة أو بحب أو حدية. And you see the informal sector, most of them are murid from our community, and there's love, deen hubbullah. There's a love between us, you know, disciples. But what's stopping them to all get organized, to get their forces together? What is it? Is it something that's really they're lacking?
No, I think they came a long way, because if you see a lot of prosperous business people, industry leaders in Senegal who are Murids, most of them started with selling handkerchiefs in the street, and they became like, you know, industry leaders right now. So I think we did a good job, but I think the next level should be in combination with experts, I mean with smart people. You know, I come back to Jahid bil Ulum. I think we have a lot of people that had good education, and we need to have think tanks. We need to have people, you know, working on that, how to help informal sector, how to do best crowdfunding models, how to get organized so that we can help, you know, people coming from the you know, the commerce sector to the industrial sector. I think that's what's lagging. I take an example. If you go to the US, you see somebody, a Murid that came from a village, he couldn't write his name in English or French or anything. He stays there a few years, he gets his nationality, he's professional in business. But sometimes, you know, he has maybe a big story in, I don't know, Manhattan or wherever you want. But to go from that to an industrial level, he needs some experts. But the problem is, if you go to New York, the people that have MBAs, they don't work with the people, the
grassroots.
The grassroots. So I think there should be a combination for that, and even in the Murid community, I think we need to have think tanks for agriculture, for finance, for economy,
all walks of life,
for education, for everything, and people that are using their brain to work and to put it in practice in line with
Is it they're waiting for the order? Because orders here, they don't come from up, down, up. It's from up, down. I'm sure if these orders, these organizations you point out was directed by the Sheikh up on top, is going to be done quickly. Is it he's not getting the right information, or is it just something we're waiting on?
I think we're putting too much charge. I mean, too much power on. I mean, too much. I don't know how they call it. We're putting too much on the Khalifs.
Right.
I think the Khalif is one man. I mean, you have hundreds of thousands of people that want to see him. Everything he hear a lot of things.
He's so busy.
And I think people around him, you know, people like us. I give you an example. When the Sheikh Ahmad Bamba was here, all the Murids were not sitting around him, trying to get things done. I mean, you had Mamchan Ibrahim in Daramusi, you had Sayyid Manumbe somewhere else, you had the Sheikhs. Everybody was working and doing things. And I think right now, at that level, we need to have initiatives. And those initiatives has to be approved by the Sheikhs. But I think we cannot go to the Sheikh and to the Khalif and tell him, you know, give an order to create a think tank. Maybe if you create a think tank for economy and we work on it.
It's already created already.
Already created. That's exactly what we do with Raud Rahin. We created something, and we went to Sheikh Salih and tell him, can you have approval? And he said, I approve, and he gave the name and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think those initiatives
they can sway the thing to a think tank is going to be possible. MashaAllah. By the way, he's the son of Mam Cherno of Daru Mohti, one of the great sheikhs and entrepreneur in our community, and also a great son of saying Basiru Mbake, MashaAllah. So Nufu of our Khalif right now, Sheikh Muntaha, may Allah give him long life. It's going to be a nice transition though to talk about globalization. How then Muridonomics is going to cope with globalization?
Okay, once again, if you look at the recent years, I think Murids were one of the most successful communities into benefiting from globalization. I give you an example. You go to US, you go to Italy, you go to North Carolina. You know the wonderful job that Sheikh Murtada has accomplished.
Absolutely.
I mean, in any part of this world, I think you see people, citizens or non-citizens that stay in this country, that abide by the law, that work hard, that have good work ethics, and have good image also compared to the other communities. And also that participate. If you see the size of the dairas when they do a ziyarah for Sheikh Muntaha or the projects they deliver here, yeah, I think this is a great thing. But what's lacking? I think that power is not used for the benefit of the country or the community the way it should. I think there should be some smart people around that to organize, you know, all those influx. And then organize, you know, we have a small problem. Let's say a community or daira in New York wants to build a mosque or a hospital here. Even putting the money is a problem. And we're in modern ages. I mean, if you see the crowdfunding models that we should have, for example, for the university, we should be able, anybody should be able into his cell phone to see that this is my participation, this word is used, and this is
the stage of the work.
Yeah, this is simple technical stuff. And now even when we're doing that, we're doing for Orange Money, we're doing for others. And that's another problem also.
They have to get something on it.
Yes. And I mean, not only that, but we have the capacity to build our communication companies, to build our banks, to build our microfinance institutions. Let's say I take the example of TOUBA Chikanam. You know,
great initiative.
Great initiative. Wonderful
and they're
initiative.
Accomplishing a lot right now.
Accomplishing a lot. But they're in a position where they can own their banks or the microfinance institution or their communication company, which will be more beneficial. But the thing is, we have the drive, we have the will, we have the niyyah to do that. We actually do it. But I think those doing that are great. But some others, people and me, and like me and you, should also participate into their brain and see how they can perfect that system.
Sering Abibu, salam to Sering Abibu with the great work he's doing. I know. Did you approach Sering Abibu? Did you talk about the what you just said about putting it a little bit further?
Yes, we talked about it, and actually I was even put in a group where they try to put those initiatives. I think a lot of people are talking about that. I think the next step is to get organized, and make it happen.
Right. I think it's gonna happen because you know, may Allah help you really with everything you learn, you know about finances, and really you want to be applicable in our own city, our own country in Africa. It's time to you know, to take advantage of knowledge like this. This is what we need. All the means are around. We just need to progress, to go forward, and you cannot do it without knowledge. Everything is organized, and you have to call the proper people to do the right work all the time. You see, you said about success in America, how the diet is there, because they have a refined system in America. When you go there, there's something you learn on the street, you learn from school, you learn from your friends. This is a theory. This is a culture of America that is very refined, that you have to cope with it. But when you come back to Africa also, in Senegal for instance, Sheikh Khadim has wrote this particular book, Matlabul Fawzain. So those guys are coping with the system. How Muridonomics will cope then with the book of Sering TOUBA, what he wrote, what he wanted, his niyyah, his wishes for TOUBA, translated on a book called Matlabul Fawzain. How those going to cope?
Okay, very interesting comment, because I remember when I was doing my MBA in Virginia, we had a class, I think it was in '95 or something like that, called Total Quality Management, which was new at the time, was a new field. And in the class we had executives, we had the mayor of the country and everything. And when we did a course, the professor sometimes said, you cannot take the course out. You have to leave it because this is new, it's from Harvard professor that's going to publicize it and everything. But what was funny is, everything they taught as some new precious stuff, I knew already. Because I lived it in practice. In Senegal. So I don't think the Murids measure the treasure they have in Cheikh Ahmad Bamba. And as an example, if you take Matlab al-Fawzaini, I think this is a poem of an ideal society, ideal city, and ideal organization of a community. If we, I mean, we see it happening right now. This is batin. But I give an example. If we organize a forum or something and say it's TOUBA Vision 2030 or 2040, and then we say it, this is what the sheikhs, this is in this particular thing, this is what the sheikhs wants from the Murids. How we can achieve it? With the modern ways and with coping with the sheikhs, with Islam's values. This is a lot of work. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing in their country, and they don't have multiple force, and we have it. So I think we need to move.
So what's stopping us then from moving forward? Since we have multiple Fawzain, everything we're thinking we want for our city, everything we want to put forward in terms of changes on economy, social, culture, education, written by the Sheikh. What's really, it's amazing.
I think one of our problems is our success. I think Murids are where people still are, you know, stressing work. We talked about the sanctifying value of work based on Cheikh Ahmad Bamba's concept. When you work is like when you worship, because you see the God dimension of work. And that's why we were successful. But I think right now, since we saw a lot of success, I think we lost concentration on that. I think we're more into the events, and then you know, the social networks, and then talking about stuff and things. But I think we should be, you know, like the first Murids. I think the first Murids, the Sadiqs. I think we're away from them because I mean they did things for generations. You know, I remember when I was talking to why I was into Islamic finance when I was in Citibank. I was talking to Ahmad Makhtar Mbow one day, and he told me I used to live in Darul Musi in the 40s or 50s.
He used to say that a lot.
Yeah, and he told me that I lived with your grandfather, Seigneur Bala, and he told me, Lamine, those people never did something for them or for their family. They did things for generations. So he told me, you don't have the right to have a good salary and a good job and a good house. You have to do things for the nation.
Yourself for the nation.
And that's why I went to Islamic finance. And I think that's the difference. I think we need to revive that. That, you know, as the vision of our Sheikh, as the vision of Sheikh Ibra, as Sheikh Mustafa, to do things, you know, for generations, and use our mind and our brain for the khidmah of Cheikh Ahmad Bamba.
MashaAllah, that could be done by education, of course, because you have to educate the people, and from younger age. Then how that can be done, especially the Sheikh is calling right now to build a university from age 1 to to Z. Is it how are we going to do that? I mean, because we have a system of education right now which is takes you to learn the Quran, to finish it, learn these fiqh books and others, and how are we going to come back and then make sure that, you know, those disciples who come out from, for instance, Sheikh Sheikh Murtada's schools, S.Fallou at Khelcom, they have to now be much more entrepreneurial. They have to go. They're doing, and Sayyid Mahmoud is doing a great work, having some universities, being engineers are coming out. But how that advantage, that we can take that and make it better.
Okay. I think you cited a very good example. I think the vision of Sheikh Muntaqa is that. He knows that's the only way to be successful in the ibadat, in the muamalat, in the economy, and to be independent, to be that the community can be the driver for economy for Senegal and for Africa. The only for that is through knowledge.
Education.
And I think the way he pointed out that for the universities, his first project, we should understand that. Now, I give a lot of credit to the young MBACKE, and I know a lot of them were 25 years, 30 years old. After the Quran school, they managed to go to Cairo, or Malaysia, or France, so, you know, to gain a lot of knowledge. But we're not using them enough. I think we need to find structures to use those people to benefit the community and the country. And also, you know, like you said, if you take S.Fallou, it's enough.
Absolutely.
For reference, what he did for Khelcom. I think he was a Khalifa of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, but he was a first entrepreneur in the country.
Absolutely.
But that we need to teach. We need to formalize. And also the other thing is to do ijtihad. Our people, our young people that go to universities, I think that's one of the aim of the university. They should know the practice of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, but they should know what's going on in the world. And that's why, I mean, for some reason, that's why we didn't have the Wahhabites coming here. I mean, we didn't have Islamism, what they call Islamism right now.
Just like many other countries around it being
burned because we know what Islam is.
Absolutely.
If you know what we are and you know what's going on abroad, I mean, we become a strong society.
Sheikh, we had a system called majalis where people used to sit, even at the mosque. They have a place there where the people learn. But and we have a lot of mosques in TOUBA, a lot of centers, a lot of places, open space. People can go and do majalis and learn. And why is it not that system of majalis not being upgraded? Because I think it's a very beautiful system. I mean, a university is just a building. People go there. What's important is the content of it. And we have majalis. I mean, why the system of majalis not really?
If you go to Morocco, to University of Harawiyyin, it's the same thing. They build the majalis. And actually, what people don't know is a majalis is the father of modern universities.
Absolutely.
Because when they were in Andalusia, and I mean, at that time, to speak, to be good in medicine or mathematics or whatever, you have to speak Arabic. And actually, they copied everything from Islam, even to the modern universities. And I think that's what we should do.
Absolutely.
We have the perfect values of Islam taught by Sheikh Ahmad Bamba. We should go from there and tujadidu and tashtahidu, upgrade them and make them work with the world.
Teaching financial institution and system in Darul Muhti, teaching engineering in Darul Khudus, having all these places with the majalis, teaching more of the modern sciences.
And I think that's the view of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba. If you take finances or I mean economy, if you use banks, you have riba, which is forbidden. We talked about it in the last thing. So Islam cannot be complete if you don't solve that problem. But you solve that through knowledge. I think even behind the universities, like you said, in every Murid city, we should even teach people about the khidmah, about the tarbiyah.
Absolutely.
This should all be formalized because it's very beneficial for the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, so glad to have our Sheikh today. So throwing out knowledge here though on finance and finances and how to really help our community, the Murid community, but also Africa, Senegal, to get better. You can follow us again on Facebook all the time, and you can like that page. It's going to help us for more visibility, inshallah, and all these videos will be uploaded in YouTube and all the channels available on multimedia. Sheikh, all this can be done, also cannot be done without politics, because you have to get involved. Khidmah is just serving your community. I see politics as getting, it's so, you know, a lot of things being said because a lot of our community, our sheikhs coming out now, wanted to serve well, I think that's the purpose of it, wanted to serve their community, getting involved in because you don't do politics, you're not getting water, you're not getting electricity, there's a lot of things you have to do politics to do it. Is there a problem for sheikhs coming out and doing politics right now, or is there's no problem, there's no issues on that? What's happening?
I think there's a big confusion around that, and I agree with you that you cannot defend Islam if you don't do politics. And another thing is, if you take a sheikh, a religious leader, he has a lot of followers. A religious leader has 2 million followers. If those followers have a problem with the government or the water, they come to the religious leader. So if the religious leader doesn't have leverage into the power, it's not going to happen. And I think that's the smart way. And that's why, since the beginning, since the 20s, the sheikhs were doing politics. Now, how they do politics is the question. And I think even if they don't want to do politics, if the president, any president of a country, or Senegal, for example, no, if he wants country to go right-hand side and the Khalif wants people to go left-hand side, most of the people will go, a lot of people will go left-hand side. So he has to go to the religious leader I mean, to discuss, to cope with him. And actually, if you look at the pre-colonial environment, when we were, I mean, French entities, when we were belonging to France, the French people, they left. They had respect for the religious leaders and then for the traditional leaders, because they know that through them they can manage the people.
Absolutely.
But now when they gain independence, they destroy that.
Absolutely.
Talk about republic and everything.
Even Islam was much more stronger during that era. When the French
I mean, I spoke
Isn't
with
that sad, Sheikh, though?
It's very sad. I mean, I spoke with my dad. He was telling me about a meeting, I don't know, in the 50s or something, where the French were saying to the S.Fallou, that we're building a national assembly and we need you to have representative there. And they were choosing.
And they have Islamic tribunal, they have
and everything.
The judges and everything.
Now we're Senegalese, we're Muslims, say Muslims, I mean, religious leaders have to be representative there. I mean, it's a big problem. So basically, I think we need to do politics. But, I think why religious leaders are doing politics is to defend Islam, to protect their community, and to cope with the power, because they're part of the power. But now I think it's very confusing, and I think all that comes back to think tanks and how we should work. Absolutely. I think we should have smart people working around the interests of the community with the government. And I think the former leaders, I mean the first followers of the sheikhs were exactly doing that. They were using smart people to discuss with the people, with the white people in the government, and they were defending their position. But I think just saying I'm away from politics is terrible, but doing politics, whatever you want also, I think it's a problem. But I think right now the community has to think about a way to have a stance in politics, in the power, so they can service the community and the country. Absolutely.
Is it though, is it just like from any other side, people are coming and representing the community, saying I'm a murid, I'm a sheikh, I represent TOUBA. Is it the people, the right people, should be chosen by the Caliph to represent us as a community from TOUBA? And I'm not talking about the other side though, but if people come out and then have on their shoulder the whole city of TOUBA without having the get-go from the Caliph, is it not going to be a problem? Because certain people might not being the right person, for instance, for some reason. But is it time now, do you think, for the Caliph to really rattle in and see who's the right person, and then send them for a mission?
I think this is very confusing right now, because at some point in time, Murid were not much in the population. And right now you can have 4 political parties where everybody claims he's a Murid. Right. So you cannot use that, as saying...
They're using our love of Srin TOUBA.
Yes.
Right.
I think politicians are very smart. But I think what we need to do is, if you go to the US, if you talk about the evangelicals or, why Donald Trump or those guys, because they're very organized. They have a good religious system. They say, okay, this guy is going to defend our values. This guy is good for our religion.
And so the strongest supporters.
The strongest supporters.
Absolutely.
And then they can turn things around. Sometimes people think it's the right way and it's the other way. I think this needs to happen also in the Murid community. Regardless of who claims he's a Murid or non-Murid, who's better defending the interests of the community, which is the interest of Islam, and which in fine also is the interest of Senegal. And I think there's a background work that needs to be done. And if that comes down to people, if people know that Fallou is bidding for being a president of Senegal, and they know that Fallou is a good guy and is going to be good for us, they're going to vote for him.
Absolutely.
But I think there's also some work that needs to be done.
MashaAllah. On a personal standpoint, though, are you in politics? You want to change things through politics, or is it a different way of Muridonomics to express himself?
I want to. Actually, I haven't found the way way yet. I mean, the way politics is done right now in Senegal is terrible. And I mean, I never jump into a political party, or I mean, I have good relations with any government that has been here.
Any tie with the actual president, Macky Sall?
We have good relationship with Macky Sall, but not political relations, because I'm bringing a lot of things in investors and everything. We have good relationship. We have a lot of mutual respect.
MashaAllah.
Now, I think. Personally, I haven't made the decision yet, but his environment is there. Definitely, we would jump, because you know, if you're a Muslim, I mean, the Prophet ﷺ was a politician.
Absolutely.
I mean, was and
we don't have a village. We have a big city.
Yes.
I mean, the highway is coming. It's something. It's going to be upgraded. This industry is going to be coming. TOUBA will be a different level from now on. In the next 10 years.
And not only TOUBA. If you go to Parcel Asani, you will find hundreds of thousands of Murids. Over there. And
we have to be ready or crushed by globalism, because they're going to have to sell this stuff, and then TOUBA is open market. They're going to come and sell everything. So if you have great mind like this, hopefully the city will use their so in the future. I'm going to want to emphasize, in the future you want to jump into politics in 2024 this next election. Why not, Sheikh?
Maybe if the environment is there.
Hopefully it's going to be a lot of changes though, and advantage for us though. It's going to be a think tank for a vision for TOUBA 2030. A think tank for our waqfs, meaning waqfs, Islamic banks, and a lot of things, challenges. But right now, are we effective in terms of efficiency in our community to reach that goal in 2030, or this level, this new thinking of a vision, is it approved by the Caliph already?
Actually, this was some initiatives not already approved by the Caliph, but this was some initiatives saying that in line of Notable Fawzani, in line of the challenges we have. You know, like if you go to TOUBA, we have a big problem of water. I mean, the water we're drinking is terrible, and the health problem also is a big problem. And all that we have to tackle. And I think the idea was to have a lot of smart people that wish, I'm sure S.Fallou, when he do his broadcast, he wish to work for Serigne Touba.
Absolutely. That's my near.
So, you know, we all want to use our knowledge to do khidmah. Absolutely. So the idea is to organize a lot of smart people. You know, I travel around. I go to the US and Europe. Sometimes I find somebody in Malaysia.
You were very friend with the president of Malaysia.
Mahathir, yes. But sometimes I go to a country.
He's old though. How old is he?
He's 90 something, but he's backing business. I mean, he won the election. But I was going to say that you go to a country, you find one fine Senegalese guy. He's heading a big company, and he comes see you and he say, "Lamine, really, I'm doing very good. I make a lot of money, I do great work, but I want to use my knowledge to work for Serigne Touba." But they don't find a platform.
A platform to do that.
So I think this is like a platform where you organize a lot of smart people. We can have groups. We can have a group for economy and finance, for agriculture, for education and everything. And then they can work on the projects, saying this is a vision for 2030. And you know, after 2 or 3 days, they deliver, you know, some reports and saying this is what we need to do. No, actually, this is a forum. I mean, I'm thinking of organizing, but just to jumpstart the idea of getting the smart people in the community working for the objective of the community and the country.
That could be under the umbrella of Radu Rayain, since you're a member of it.
Definitely, yes.
Absolutely,
definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And by the way, tomorrow you have a meeting in Dakar.
Yes.
What is it, the meeting about?
I have a training seminar. You know, I'm teaching Islamic finance.
Beautiful.
And you know, as
at what school you doing it? You do it at the
African Institute of Islamic Finance. And actually, we're teaching professionals. We're teaching like bank directors, financial directors, somebody from the ministries. You know, right now what's happening is Islamic finance is growing fast, and people don't know. So we're teaching them the way we can do finance in compliance with Sharia. So, but in a practical manner, so they can open Islamic banks and that kind of stuff. So in that field also, you know, in Islamic finance as part of Sharia, you know, in every institution you need to have Sharia scholars that decide if this transaction is halal or haram. And we have a lot of people from TOUBA that educated in Quran and Sunnah that we need to get involved.
Well,
so we're doing a lot of
beautiful. That makes me ask you a last questions though, if not another question on top of that. So what is your advice to youngsters who wants to get educated but stays in the line of teaching of Serigne Touba? What is your advice to them?
My advice is to stay focused. I think the strong points they have is they are dedicated to do something for Serigne Touba, and I think that's wonderful for every murid. Every murid, you see selling handkerchiefs. He wants to pay,
in their mind all the time.
And he wants to pay for the train, you know, at Magal.
That's unbelievable.
And for those being in schools, in universities and stuff, I think they need to get together and start. You know, all the criticism we made about how things are functioning, and say how we can bring changes in that and how we can make things better. It all comes to what they say in management, effectiveness and efficiency. I think you have effectiveness because our goal is to serve Serigne Touba, but we have to be efficient. And efficiency, I think they need to be best in what they do, but also they need to get together and start thinking about how they can do things better. And after they achieve a conclusion, they come to the Caliph or the authority, it's going to validate it. And you know, in the long run, we're going to be, you know,
beautiful, Sheikh. We'll take that as a last word, though. The founder of African Institute of Islamic Finance. Hopefully, we're going to be working together with this program of Echo from TOUBA.
Inshallah,
this is the type of sponsors I want, though. Something for a window for the people, the world, to understand what S.Lamine is doing, what he's doing in this country, what he's doing for our community, but how the world is benefiting from his knowledge. He teaches in America, he teaches in all these countries, and still Africa, Senegal is not taking advantage of the type of knowledge he has. So anytime you want to follow me, just go to YouTube and Facebook for Echo from TOUBA, happening every 2 weeks right here on Lampfal TV. This is it. This has been an hour already. So inshallah, what's going to be your last word, Sheikh?
My last word is I'm very glad. Thanks for having me here.
You're welcome. All the time.
And then my last message is I think the Caliph is doing what he can.
Beautiful.
Our grandfathers did what they can. We need to meet the challenge.
They need the help, though.
Yes, yes. I think we need to create things. You know, we need to look at what we can do for Cheikh Ahmad Bamba in all of us in our fields, so that we can better the community. As an example, if you say Mamchar Ibrahim or Cheikh Fatma, they say, wow, this is great. Question is, what did I do?
Right. Well, you do your best.
So you need to put our prints.
Right. Hearing the Sheikh saying, Malakani, Dunya wa Ukhra Samadu, Allah has given them the best of this world and the next, I'm sure, and reassure that all this will happen for the benefits of our community with the help and the barakah of Serigne Touba. Until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Jërëjëf Serigne Touba. Jaraw lakki Mam Cheikh Ibrahima Fall. Jërëjëf Cheikh. Jërëjëf. Thank you. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Masha'Allah Rabbi.
Le programme suivant sera en anglais.
No